Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. On the 23rd of September, we know that DLC 4 is going to be coming out. However, it's only today, as of a few minutes ago, that we have had an official confirmation that the name of the map is Tag der Toten. That translates to Day of the Dead, if you translate it from German. Now, we've known that that would be the name of the map for a few days now because of the fact that the trophies for the map already came out, and I made a whole video talking about all of the implications of some of the things in there, including the fact that we would be ascending from darkness for that Easter egg trophy, which was something that really intrigued me and made me want to know a lot more about what direction they were going to be taking the Easter egg in. Well, now we have Treyarch tweeting out saying ascend from darkness on September 23rd, and we have our first official image of the map itself, or at least first official teaser image of the map itself, if you kind of know what I mean. And it says Tag der Toten at the bottom, first of all. And by the way, I know that in German, this would be more like a Tag rather than a tag. Like, we're all saying tag as if we're playing tag, but it's more of a Tag as in Guten Tag. But I just don't think that people are going to really warm to the idea of calling it Tag der Toten. And so I think that calling it tag is probably just going to be fine in this case. So, on Tag, it's such a weird name, we've got this moon kind of silhouette, I suppose, behind this mountain. And it's an interesting teaser because it's on film reel, which we'll talk about in just a moment, but the smudges on this are basically repeats of the same JPEG of a zombie's face kind of printed on there, almost looking like a thumbprint, except in reality, it is actually just a zombie staring at you from the film reel. I don't think that any of these faces are different to one another. I think that they're just all the zombies. And if you did really want to make a connection with them, I'd say that they actually look like the Call of the Dead zombies that you guys might remember from that map. Bear in mind that when Black Ops 1 came out, we started off with zombies in Kino that looked one way, and then by the time we got to Call of the Dead, by the time we got to that DLC, the zombies' faces almost looked like they were melting off. Like, they were really in a very weird place with just how kind of flesh seemed to be hanging off their face and all sorts of stuff like that. And the designs of these faces seem, to me, to be most close to that same design that we had back on Call of the Dead. Now, we all know that that's going to be the map, so it's not really any great surprise, but I figured that that would be worth mentioning here because it's just another link that there is to be made. I think it's also worth mentioning here that all is not as it seems with what's in the background of the image. So on the right-hand side, there's actually some kind of structure that you can't really make out, but something is there. It's absolutely definitely there, sticking out from the horizon, and I want to hear from you guys what you think that might be. I've got some kind of color-corrected versions of the image on screen right now, me kind of fiddling around with the settings to try and make it a little clearer. I don't know what exactly that might be, but I want to hear your thoughts. The other thing that I think is worth pointing out is that there also seems to be a structure on the left side, but more of a distant one, and this one to me almost looks like the faint silhouette of the water tower from Blood of the Dead. It's got that kind of vibe to me, which means that maybe it's just a very, very obscure look at the lighthouse from the map that we are presuming is going to be there. The lighthouse is obviously very important at this point. We know that that's the case. We've known it since Blood of the Dead, but just the fact that there seems to be some kind of structure there is, again, another thing that I figured would probably be worth mentioning. Now, as far as I can tell, in the rest of the scratches and weird marks and things on here, there aren't any hidden secrets, there aren't any hidden pieces of writing or ciphers or anything like that. There are a couple of scratches that look kind of like stickmen almost, but I suspect that is all coincidence. It's just a little bit of pareidolia kind of thing. And there also doesn't seem to be any kind of writing that would have been part of the actual film reel itself. The reel seems to have been completely blank apart from its little kind of clipping parts on the edges, which is stuff that you'd expect anyway, where it would be fed through the machine. Now, the name is something that I've talked about before, and I want to mention here again because I've realized a little bit more of its significance since the last time I talked to you guys. So, Tag der Toten translates Day of the Dead, right? But Day of the Dead just so happens to be a George Romero film, which is relevant here because Call of the Dead, the original map on which this one's going to be based, featured George Romero as the director in-game, right? that is something that I've talked about before. What I didn't mention before is that there is also some really nice symmetry to the name Tag der Toten, because the Call of Duty Zombies storyline, all of Call of Duty Zombies in fact, started with Nacht der Untoten, the Night of the Undead. And so we're going from the Night of the Undead to kick everything off all the way through to the Day of the Dead, where we put everything to rest and we walk away, which I really like. I love that symmetry there. I love the fact that they've gone full circle in that way. I think that it's really neat. And they've managed to work into that a nice play on the fact that George Romero was in Call of the Dead and probably won't be returning here because he's passed away, rest in peace, but it's a nice way to honor his legacy just a little bit. Now, it would be silly of me to mention that and not mention the moon, right? Zombies has always had a very intimate connection with the moon. That is no secret. It really isn't. But the fact that the moon is so prominent here is really interesting to me. And by the way, I think that there is a chance that we end up getting more promotional art and they could definitely stylize the moon and sort of turn it into a skull. That could be why there's these kind of weird marks on the front of it a little bit. That could also just be scratches in the film for sure. But the moon has always been important. We haven't always really understood why. Obviously, there's a map set on the dang moon, but there's always just been a little bit of a kind of obsession with it over the years. The thing that I really like now is that they've brought the moon back. The map is giving us all these hints that we're going to be ascending from darkness. They're making it this massive, massive silhouette in the background. And the first time that we saw a moon this big and this prominently displayed, especially in marketing material, was in Nacht der Untoten. In that map, the moon is huge. It's a really big part of that experience in a really weird way. If you look up even just the loading screen, right, of Nacht der Untoten from World at War way back in the day, that like map thumbnail, it's a load of zombies running towards the camera and the moon is massive in the background. If you look up the intro to the map, what's one of the first things that your eye settles on in the frame? Yes, it's the plane, but then it's the moon, this massive sphere in the background that is super prominent. And I just love the fact that we've gone from that being this element of the original map to the moon also being a really important part of the imagery they're using to close out the story. I'm sure that amongst all of this, there is going to be a lot of symbolism about the space race. There's going to be a lot of symbolism about the fact that the Ascension group, who fittingly would be present in a map where we have to ascend from darkness at this point, the Ascension group were working on things like Project Mercury. They were working at Baikonur Cosmodrome. They were working intimately on all of the original elements of maps like Ascension that we grew to be so familiar with over the years that were all revolving around Richtopen's grand scheme at the time to get to the moon. That group is coming back now in a big way for this finale. They were teased just earlier today, in fact. I made a whole video talking about that. And I think that it's just a really nice fitting end to take this kind of American dream kind of concept almost of getting to the moon, of going to space, of doing the thing. We choose to go there not because it's easy, but because it's hard, is what Kennedy said. Taking that sentiment and applying it to zombies now and saying that we've been going through this cycle for years, right? We've been going through it over and over and over again. And there's the cycle in game, but there's also the cycle that we go through as fans of DLCs coming out and of new games coming out over and over. And this is finally the point where we are going ourselves to take a step into the unknown, to go somewhere that isn't going to be easy to go to. It's going to be difficult making this transition, but to go somewhere that we've never even really thought about before and round out the ending of the story by ascending from darkness, from the Nacht der Untoten, from the Night of the Undead. We'll break out into the Day of the Dead, and that'll be the last page of the book, and the chapter will end, and you'll close the cover, and it'll be done forever. Maybe. Unless they make a remake in Black Ops 5. So, let me know what you think of the teaser, guys. I'll obviously be making trailer breakdowns when they come out later this week. I'm sure there's going to be one at some point, so peep my channel for those. Thank you for the support on the Borderlands videos I've been posting as well. You guys are the best, and I'll see you next time for more zombies videos. Bye for now.